Welcome back to another edition of the Educational AD Podcast. We couldn't do this without the incredible support of our sponsors, and we want to start by saying thank you to all of them. First, thanks to our diamond sponsor, Varsity Brands, including BSN, Varsity Spirit, and Herff Jones. Varsity Brands, elevating student experiences in sport, spirit, and achievement. We also want to thank our platinum sponsors, including Ephesus Lighting, innovating a brighter future at every level. Gilman Gear, always a step ahead. Camp Mobile, where teams communicate better. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. And Vital Signs, bring student achievements to life. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is Rich Barton. Rich is a certified master athletic administrator. He's also a former NIAAA President, and he's currently the director of athletics at Richfield High School in Utah. Rich, welcome to the program.
I appreciate it, Jake. It's an awesome thing that you're doing, and for the benefit of so many of us out there in the trenches.
Well, we only have the very best on, so we're very glad to have you. Well, as you know, the life of an athletic director is very busy. Certainly these days are no exception. So let's jump right in. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school and college, and maybe how your involvement and love of sports led to that first teaching and coaching job.
Well, I grew up in Cedar City, Utah. That's about an hour and a half south of where I'm at, about 3 hours from Las Vegas, 3 hours or so from Salt Lake City. And I stayed home to go to college. I grew up basically a block from Southern Utah University campus. And when the school made the decision to go Division I when I was in high school, there was never any other place I wanted to go. And I grew up sneaking in the old field house at all hours of the night and things to play basketball. And so it was fun for me to play up the street, and also to have, my family and friends that I grew up with be able to see me play, and was fortunate to have a really positive experience at Southern Utah and in athletics, and was actually fortunate. My high school coach, who was my father figure growing up, he moved over to the college as an assistant while I played my freshman year. Then I went on a 2-year church mission where I was in Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas state of Kansas for 2 years. He moved over to the college, so when I came back, he was my assistant coach, and played a few years after. I unfortunately, when I was at my best, I tore my ACL. In fact, I tell people my best game of my life was the worst game of my life. I had an opportunity to break a school scoring record, and with 6.5 minutes to go in the game, I tore my ACL.
Oh, gosh.
And had 42 points. The record was 51. With 6.5 minutes to go, I was on pace to get it in what was, a 10-point game, but was able to come back, even though at that time we were kind of guinea pigs with ACL surgeries. And I actually tore it a second time, and had a redshirt year, and came back my senior year and actually played on one leg, and fractured my wrist on my shooting hand about mid-season. So I played with one good arm and one leg, but was fortunate to still get 20 a game and get some postseason recognition. I was able to be an academic All-American, which was a goal, and then was also awarded one of the 7 NCAA post-grad scholarships, and immediately put that to use upon graduation. Even though I started out as a teacher and coach, I did a master's program and then did an administrative endorsement. Had some opportunities to go play overseas and also in the CBA, which is now the G League. And a lot of people thought I was a little bit nuts to take a first-year teacher salary that was the equivalent of about 10% of what dollar figures were being talked about with the agents and the teams that I met with. But we felt inspired to do that, and came to my wife's hometown of Richfield for a teaching coaching opportunity. And just months later, we were grateful we followed that inspiration, as my wife was 3 months pregnant and she had a stroke, which she couldn't walk for a couple months. Unfortunately, with her parents here, we were able to, I was still able to go to work and carry on, whereas if we were in a foreign land, some things would have been a lot different. So things have been ideal for us here in Richfield, and it's just a great community, and had a great coaching experience, and then an opportunity to move into an assistant principalship that included an AD position.
Wow, what a story. I knew bits and pieces of that, but what a journey. Share a little bit about that transition from the teacher and the coach into the world of administration.
Well, it was something I always wanted to do. My coach, that was my father figure. My father passed away when I was 9, and so my high school coach was my dad, and he was the basketball coach / AD. And then another mentor was an assistant principal who was also my church leader. And it's interesting, I ended up doing the two same things they did. One was an AD and one was an assistant principal who moved on later to be actually our state school superintendent here in Utah. And they were great mentors. And I guess following their paths, I planned to be a coach for as long as possible. I'd been in the classroom 5 years, and our assistant principal / AD retired. And I had finished my master's, I'd finished my administrative endorsement, and I felt like I should go for that position. I got it, but I also made it known I will only do it if I can still be the basketball coach. So for the next about 5 years, I juggled AD, full-time assistant principal, and boys basketball coach. And it was a juggling act that I was able to do just because I have a great wife. And I planned to coach a lot longer than I did, but I got an unexpected call in my church to be a bishop, which was the leader of a congregation of about 500 people. And it's a lay position, non-paid, but it can be a full-time position, getting phone calls at all hours of the day and night. And so when I got that call, I knew something needed to go off my plate. And the one thing that could go off was the basketball. And so that's when I got out of the coaching, and I was a bishop. It was a 7-year call, which was a great opportunity and a blessing. I was actually NIAAA President while I was bishop, so I still had some juggling to do along with AD and assistant principal. But that was kind of how I got my start into the position that I'm in. A lot of people assume an assistant principal is trying to be principal. That wasn't the inspired path I've ever felt to go. I'd never want to close the door on what I've gained related to athletics. And it's that area that I feel like I can make a difference, not only hopefully ultimately with student athletes, but hopefully coaching coaches to make a difference with student athletes. So I've been in that role for 20 plus years. And it also provides a good balance with a lot of the challenges I deal with assistant principal. I still have that nice balance of of athletics, interaction with student athletes and coaches, and a lot of positive things too.
I've got to know you the last 5 or 6 years, with our involvement with NIAAA, and obviously you're a leader on a local level, a state level, and certainly at the national level. Who were some of your leaders, some of your mentors growing up? You've already mentioned, your high school coach, but who else had an impact on you? People that when you go to work each day, you can still hear their voice in the things that you say and share.
Well, like yourself, I've been a state coordinator for a number of years for my state. And I count Don Bells from the PDA team as one of my mentors. But through my time on as a state coordinator, I've always tried to think what's missing in the NIAAA as far as courses that are needed. And my mentor in college, Dr. Steve Lunt, the messages he had for us, being one of the greatest coaches of coaches in the state of Utah, was, all of us that were students of his, we have constant things running through our minds. And he was persuaded to publish a book of his teachings, because he spent 50 years at Southern Utah, small Division I, but that school was responsible, because of him, of putting a third of the coaches in Utah high schools. It's called the Coaching Factory. And he was the man behind it. When he published his book, I read it, and for any of your listeners, it's titled "So You Want to Be a Coach." Amazon, $6-7. And when I read it, I said, some of these teaching points need to be an LTI course. And that was the thought behind the new Coaching the Coaches course. That's how it evolved. And he was a mentor of mine that, unfortunately, he passed away unexpectedly when I was on the way to the airport to NIAAA board meeting where that course was approved for development. But he knew it was going to go out to thousands of people with his teachings and things. And so he was a great mentor. I've had great mentors, in my state. Mark Hunter, who is the person responsible for making the UIAAA what it is as far as an organization. And he's done an unbelievable job, making it easier for people like myself and Jamie Sheets to be able to serve on the NIAAA board. And and so I appreciate people like that, setting the table.
Oh, absolutely. Don and Mark still do an incredible job for our organization. You're certainly an experienced athletic director. I'm curious, at your school and maybe even, nationally, how have you seen the job of the school-based athletic director change over the years? Maybe not from when you and I got started, but, maybe the last 15, 20 years. How's the job changed?
Well, and fortunately, because of the NIAAA, it's changed tremendously. When I started as a coach, if you were to ask me, what my AD did, I don't know. I knew he made reservations for us when we went to the state tournament. But outside of that, coming to the games, I really didn't know what they did. And then as I moved in that role, I don't think I was a great athletic administrator to start off with, because there's no training. There wasn't anything. But I was encouraged to get involved in the UIAAA, which was a blessing, because it gave us tools. It gave us things to go back and help coaches not feel like they're out there on their own island, to be able to be a support system, make some of their burdens lighter, and also build them up and encourage them and help them to know, somebody's got their back. And then my involvement in the NIAAA kind of started after I wasn't coaching, and I could actually go to a national conference in December without a basketball load. But I was fortunate to get put on the strategic plan at the NIAAA level. And I guess I'm going off on a story here, but I went to state tennis the day before on my way to the airport. The night I had like a 5 a.m. flight to Indy. Didn't feel too good the whole night. Wondered if it was some flu. I felt even worse on the flight the next morning, and I knew something was wrong with me, mid-flight. And when I got to the hotel, I told Bruce Whitehead and Mike Blackburn, you got to take me to the hospital. Went to the hospital, had my appendix taken out, and they had flown me there to be a part of the meetings. I was a little bit embarrassed that I don't want to spend my time in a hotel. So the next morning I did get up and get dressed. I said, I can sit in a chair. I can be a part of the next couple of days of meetings. And so I was fortunate to still be involved and hopefully left a positive impression that led to some other opportunities in the NIAAA. And I guess, to answer your first question, the NIAAA and our state associations have given us what we need as athletic directors to have a job description, to have the tools, the courses, so that we can go back and, we can prepare people for their stewardship.
Now, I can certainly relate to that myself. When I first came to Florida in 2000, I was the head football coach and the AD at my school. And I think I looked at the jobs in that order. 8 years later, I took a position at another school just as the AD. And that was my initial involvement with FIAAA and NIAAA. And that's the point. I can say without hesitation that I became an athletic director was when I started getting involved with my state. So I appreciate you sharing that. Let's go and talk about COVID. Certainly it's had an impact going all the way back to spring, and it continues to impact us across the country. We've seen a variety of responses. Some states are changing seasons. Some states are business as usual. And in full disclosure, we're recording this episode in late August. So when it airs, things may have changed. But Rich, what's going on right now with your district and in the state of Utah, if you can share? What's happening regarding reopening and with high school sports?
Well, and we're in a much, I guess, more desirable place than a lot of states. I really feel for those that have, they've got athletes that, are still putting things on hold. We got clearance the day after Memorial Day to resume, weight room, 7-on-7 football. We had basketball teams, volleyball teams that all hosted summer tournaments here in June, July in our building. And so we've been pretty fortunate. We started fall sports as scheduled. Utah got a little bit of media attention with playing the first football games in the U.S. And I think that first week there was only one game canceled. And then the second week, last weekend, there was only one game canceled. Haven't heard if any this week are canceled, but things have gone pretty smooth in the suburban areas. Most of them that I've heard are limiting to 25% attendance of what they have in the past. When our teams have traveled there, we've had to do online tickets where it might only be two per player. And but our home events, we don't have limited attendance. We do have a little bit of challenge in our area because we haven't been hit too hard with the cases. I have a hard time convincing people. They know they have to have the mask to get in, but especially outdoor events, it's a little harder to get them convinced to keep the mask on. But as of this airing, we've been notified of our first case of one of our students. And, and that's in a student body of 750. That's the first known case. And we're, doing the contact tracing and things, but things have gone smooth so far. We try to convince our people not to take it for granted that we've got what we have back, because it could be taken away in a hurry or a team shut down. I do worry about when we get to playoff time, if we have a team quarantined or shut down, essentially, their season ends because of COVID, not because of a defeat. And so it could be really interesting over the next couple months. And it's been interesting, just the first week of school. I think I mentioned to you off the air with what we've been dealing with right now. And in the last week, every day I've been dealing with potentially what could be a positive test with athletes from a number of different sports.
Well, continued good luck with that. Utah got some good positive press a while back with Jeremy Lewis. I've actually tried to reach out to him and get him on the show. Maybe you can pull some Utah strings there and send him a message from me. I mean, what a great testament to the duties and the responsibility of an athletic administrator at a home event.
Yeah, that each week, one of the Salt Lake City TV stations does a game of the week, which is moved to Thursday. And so Jeremy's school played the Thursday game of the week. And, I applaud his courage, as they do have limited seating, and they actually usher the people in to specific seats. And obviously they didn't stick to that. And he stopped the game. The TV broadcast was stopped for 4 minutes until they got where they were supposed to. In fact, Gary Stevens, as soon as that went viral, Gary from Maine, he texted me, said, "Hey, how do I get a hold of this guy?" And he was able to get him on his with Jay Hammis, their pandemic Zoom. But we'll see if we can help you. I know Jeremy's been busy, USA Today and a bunch of other people, but it'd be good if you can get him on, because he's well-spoken and does a great job as an athletic administrator.
Yeah, I'm sure he is very busy. I did, find his school district website, send him an email, introduce myself, but maybe Magic Rich can pull some strings for me there. Let's another question we've been asking our athletic directors, and it was kind of phrased like last spring, but now there's been another recent event. Last spring in Minneapolis and Atlanta, certainly social issues, social justice certainly came to the forefront. And my question is, as athletic administrators, as ADs, what are some things that we can do a better job of with our kids, with our teams, with our communities in this area of social awareness?
Well, definitely educate them. I think not only with our student athletes, but with coaches, with all of us as athletic administrators, we need to listen, but not only listen, we need to listen to understand. I haven't walked in the shoes of so many others that have walked a difficult path related to equality and justice. And, I feel for those that have experienced racism and I think we have to do all we can to promote diversity. I think you do an excellent job with your podcast. You bring those the best people which we have in our association, people of diversity that are the best of our association. And we've got to not only listen, to those voices, but we need to promote those people and pave the way and encourage. One of my goals when I was in the NIAAA presidency was to push for diversity. In the presidency, there were fortunate opportunities to travel to section meetings and different places, some state conferences. And one of my goals was always try to find some people that, help instill a belief in them that, hey, you can be on the NIAAA board, you can serve on committees, you can serve on the national faculty, you can be president of this association. If I can be it, hey, anybody can. And I'll be honest, as a past president in the process for president-elect, one of the things I was most proud of is in that responsibility that I was one of the individuals that promoted to the board two names for that board to decide and vote who was going to be president. And those two names, Lannis Robinson and Lisa Langston. And it was a historic day in the NIAAA that one of those two was going to be president that year. And fortunately, the one that wasn't elected was elected the next year. And I was excited about that because two of the best presidents our association will ever have are those two. And there's many other people that hopefully will look for that same opportunity, people of diversity, people of color, because they're out there. They just need to see and have that path available.
No, it's been somewhat intentional the way we have scheduled our guests. And again, Lisa was a great guest. I've been teasing Lannis, in Florida, but I said, maybe I have to wait till you step down as president to be on our podcast. But no, you're absolutely right. Okay. It's, look for great people, regardless of, their race, their gender, et cetera, and promote them when you can. Well, Rich, this has just been wonderful. It's always great catching up with you. We do get to talk to each other every now and then, but we're not done. We always like to finish with what we call the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you and I are both experienced athletic directors, but your job right now is to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first assignment, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in Rich Barton's athletic director toolbox?
Well, that's hard to narrow it down to 3, especially with everything we do. But number 1, I say the ability to listen. I even included this in our in coaching the coaches, and I think I included in the course that I'm fortunate to co-author with you that's in development with partnering with parents. But listeners learn, listeners are learners, and learners are listeners. And I think an AD having the ability to listen and having that trait as a strength is sure going to make a lot of things easier. Another one I think is the ability to reach out. I truly believe, there's no honorable profession than that of an athletic administrator, because what we do is to elevate other people, elevate the coaches that we coach, and to ultimately elevate the students that participate. And so reaching out and doing those things and I think it's a great part of our job. We're doing things that a lot of people have no clue we're doing. To make things go smooth, to put other people in a position to be successful. And so an athletic administrator has to have that reach out quality. And it can't be a sometime quality, as you know. It's an everyday thing. It's that coach that had a tough loss last night that needs somebody in their corner the next day and letting them know you have their back. But and lastly, a lift and assist attitude. And I bring those two words up a lot because it was my theme as a president of the NIAAA, my presidential year, is we are in a job where we have to lift and assist others. And we have to have those 2 things at the forefront. we're fortunate to belong to the Ultimate Lift and Assist organization. And if we follow the training, the courses, the workshops, everything we receive from the top leaders in Indianapolis, we'll do a good job of lifting and assisting because it'll be ingrained in us. And that's I guess my three things.
Well, those are three wonderful suggestions. The listen one I love because I can see it so clearly. As a young coach, as a young AD, my principals, my mentors, would say, Jake, just listen. And when I finally learned to shut up and listen, I think that was a big turning point for me. So I appreciate you sharing those words of wisdom.
Well, appreciate the opportunity to be on with you. Much respect for you and your excellent presidency in Florida and your outstanding involvement in the NIAAA, and you obviously have a bright path ahead with your involvement. And like I say, fortunate to be involved with you in some new course development, of which you've provided some outstanding things that our membership will benefit for years to come.
Oh, well, you are too kind, and I will agree with what you said just earlier. We are part of a great organization. It's just great to be a part of this profession. Rich, thanks so much for being a guest. Continued good luck as the seasons unfold.
Well, wish you the best and prayers for Florida and getting athletics back.
Absolutely. Thank you. To our listeners, thanks as always for tuning in. Come back again next time for another edition of the Educational AD.